New Mexico, 1947. A rancher finds twisted metal scattered across the desert. The military rushes in within hours. Reporters are told it's a flying saucer. The next day, it's suddenly a weather balloon. So, what really fell from the sky that night? And why has the truth stayed buried for over 75 years?
It began on a quiet July night in the endless expanse of the New Mexico desert. A storm had passed, lightning flashing across the dark sky, when a strange explosion echoed through the plains near a small town called Roswell. At dawn, a rancher named Mac Brazel rode out to check his sheep after the storm. But what he found scattered across the sand would change his life forever. The ground was littered with strange debris, thin metallic sheets that wouldn't burn, wires unlike anything he'd ever seen, and small I-beam-like sticks with purple symbols printed along the sides. When he bent the metal, it instantly snapped back into shape. Confused and uneasy, Mac loaded a few pieces into his truck and drove to the local sheriff's office. The sheriff took one look and immediately called the Roswell Army Airfield. By afternoon, the military had sealed off the ranch. Dozens of soldiers arrived, armed, fast, and silent. Mac Brazel was ordered to stay quiet. Reporters were pushed back. Then, on July 8, 1947, the base made a shocking announcement. A press release went out. The Army Air Forces have recovered a flying disc. Within hours, the news swept across America. "Flying saucer captured in New Mexico," read the headlines. People were terrified. Others were thrilled. For one night, the world believed we had proof of life beyond Earth. But the next morning, everything changed. The same base commander, Colonel William Blanchard, held a press conference. He stood before cameras and smiled calmly. The UFO, he explained, was nothing more than a weather balloon, a simple mistake. The story was over. At least that's what the government wanted everyone to believe. But witnesses told a different tale. Locals claimed they saw glowing wreckage hauled away under tarps. Some swore they saw small bodies, child-sized, not human. And strange men in black suits visited the town, warning people to forget what they'd seen. Whatever fell from the sky that night, it wasn't from this world.
The day after the flying saucer story broke, Roswell wasn't just a small desert town anymore. It was the center of the world's biggest mystery. But by noon, the Army had erased every trace of the truth. Reporters who tried to reach the crash site were stopped by armed guards. Photographers' film rolls were confiscated. And the original press release, the one that said "Flying Disc Recovered," was suddenly pulled from newspapers and replaced with a new, safer version. Weather balloon debris recovered near Roswell. But not everyone was convinced. That evening, Major Jesse Marcel, the intelligence officer who handled the debris, returned home secretly with a small box. He woke his son in the middle of the night and whispered, "I want you to see something, but you can't tell anyone." On the kitchen floor, he spread out pieces of strange metallic foil, rubber-like material, and thin beams with hieroglyphic-like symbols. He bent one of the metal strips, and it snapped back instantly. His son, Jesse Jr., later said, "It wasn't from Earth. I know what our military makes, and this wasn't it." The next day, military trucks arrived at the Marcel home. The debris was seized, and Jesse Marcel was ordered to fly to Fort Worth with replacement materials, pieces of an ordinary weather balloon for the press to photograph. In front of cameras, he held up the balloon fragments. His face said it all. He knew he was part of a lie. Meanwhile, back at the crash site, something much larger was being hidden. Locals later claimed they saw a second debris field, miles away, guarded by dozens of soldiers. One witness, a nurse from the Roswell Base Hospital, said she saw small metallic stretchers being wheeled in, carrying something wrapped in silver. She wasn't the only one. Funeral home director Glenn Dennis received a strange call from the base. They asked him how to preserve small bodies exposed to the elements. When he asked why, the voice on the other end paused and said, "You didn't hear this call." Within days, the entire area was sealed off. Families were warned to stay silent. Mac Brazel, the rancher who found the wreck, was detained for nearly a week. When he was released, he looked pale, exhausted, and terrified. He told reporters a new story. It was just a balloon, nothing more. But people could tell he was lying, or worse, forced to lie. By August 1947, the story had completely vanished from newspapers. Roswell went quiet again. But whispers spread across America that somewhere in a secret hangar, the U.S. government was hiding evidence of something not human. And then, witnesses started disappearing. For decades, Roswell remained a ghost story, a desert rumor buried under layers of government denial. But in 1978, everything changed. A man named Stanton Friedman, a nuclear physicist turned UFO investigator, tracked down the now retired Major Jesse Marcel. When asked about Roswell, Marcel finally broke his silence. "It wasn't a damn weather balloon," he said. "I handled the material. It was nothing made by us or any country on this earth."
That interview lit the fuse. Soon other witnesses began to speak. A former radar operator, a nurse from the base hospital, even pilots who claimed to transport biological specimens to a secret location. Each story pointed to the same place, a hangar deep inside Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Ohio. Locals around Wright-Patterson had long whispered about Hangar 18, a heavily guarded building that supposedly held the wreckage of non-human craft. Inside, workers described boxes marked Top Secret Roswell and strange metallic objects that hummed softly even when unplugged. One whistleblower, whose identity was never confirmed, told a journalist, "There were bodies, small, frail, gray-skinned. They were examining them when I left. I don't know what they found, but it scared everyone in that room." The U.S. government, of course, denied it all. When the Freedom of Information Act opened some records in the 1980s, hundreds of Roswell files were missing, officially listed as destroyed.
Still, researchers found clues buried in unrelated documents, coded references to Project Mogul, Operation Paperclip, and biological recovery. It looked like Roswell was just the beginning. Then came the satellite leak. In 1994, an anonymous technician released declassified flight logs showing that military transport planes had flown directly from Roswell to Nevada in July 1947. Destination? Groom Lake, better known today as Area 51. By the 1960s, Area 51 had become the testing ground for secret aircraft like the U-2 and the SR-31. But insiders whispered that those test flights were cover for something else: reverse engineering. One engineer, known only as Lazar, claimed to have worked on alien propulsion systems recovered from Roswell. He described a gravity-based reactor, capable of bending space itself, technology decades beyond anything human. He said it didn't burn fuel, it distorted gravity. The craft didn't fly, it fell through space. The government called him a fraud. Yet the very existence of Area 51 was denied until 2013, when declassified CIA documents finally admitted it was real. But even then, the files were carefully worded: no mention of Roswell, no mention of UFOs. Still, one detail kept surfacing across every witness, every rumor, every leaked memo. Whatever crashed in Roswell did not die there. It was moved, studied, and buried deeper, hidden inside layers of classified programs and off-limits desert bases.
And the strangest part? Each time a whistleblower came forward, they were watched. Some received anonymous phone calls, others vanished entirely. One man wrote a note before disappearing in 1989. They're not trying to keep it secret from other countries. They're trying to keep it secret from us. But why? What was so dangerous about what fell from the sky in 1947? And why were scientists risking their careers to expose it? The answer, or what might be the answer, came in 1996 when a hidden film reel surfaced, footage that the world wasn't supposed to see. It was 1996. The internet was still young, but the Roswell mystery was about to explode into a new era. A man named Ray Santilli, a British filmmaker, claimed to have something the world had only imagined: a real film of an alien autopsy shot by the U.S. military after the Roswell crash. The grainy black-and-white footage showed men in hazmat suits standing around a small, hairless humanoid body lying on a metal table. Large black eyes, elongated fingers, a deep wound across the torso. As the camera rolled, they performed what looked like an examination, removing organs, taking tissue samples, and photographing everything. On the wall behind them, a calendar read July 1947. The world went silent. Major news outlets from CNN to Fox aired clips of it. Millions watched, horrified yet fascinated. Was this the proof humanity had been waiting for? The Pentagon dismissed it instantly, calling it a hoax, but experts who analyzed the film were divided. Some said it was too detailed to fake with 1990s technology. The body's anatomy, the way the tissue reacted to light, looked disturbingly real. Even Hollywood special effects artists admitted, if it's fake, someone spent years perfecting it.
But the deeper people dug, the stranger it got. When Santilli was questioned, he admitted part of the footage had been reconstructed from decayed original film, yet he maintained the real autopsy did exist, and the reconstruction was based on genuine events. Meanwhile, investigators discovered that several Wright-Patterson Air Force Base employees listed in the original Roswell reports had quietly died, all between 1994 and 1996. No foul play was found, but their records were sealed. Then came the chilling twist.
A leaked memo from 1947, signed by President Harry S. Truman, surfaced online. It mentioned the creation of a secret group called Majestic 12. 12 scientists, generals, and intelligence officers tasked with the recovery and investigation of extraterrestrial biological entities. The White House denied the memo's authenticity, but forensic document experts claimed the signature, typewriter ink, and formatting matched genuine documents from the era. For years, Majestic 12 was dismissed as a conspiracy theory. But one whistleblower, an ex-CIA operative known only as Thomas, claimed to have seen the documents firsthand. In a 2002 interview, his voice altered and his face hidden, he said, "The Roswell craft wasn't the first, and it wasn't the last. The real secret isn't that they crashed. It's that we learned how to rebuild them." Weeks after that interview aired, Thomas disappeared. His home was found empty, phone disconnected, belongings untouched. Neighbors said men in black suits had been watching his house days before he vanished. And then, a quiet revelation. In 2011, a declassified Defense Intelligence Agency document confirmed that the U.S. military had conducted tissue analysis on unknown biological samples recovered during the 1940s. No details were given, just a simple note: samples non-terrestrial in origin. Further study suspended. That one line reignited everything. Was the alien autopsy real? Did Majestic 12 actually exist? And if so, what did they discover that terrified them enough to erase decades of evidence? The desert was still keeping its secrets. But somewhere deep underground, locked behind blast doors and biometric scanners, the truth was still breathing. And the more people searched, the more it seemed that Roswell wasn't just a cover-up, it was the beginning of something much larger. The year was 1989. A man named Bob Lazar appeared on a Las Vegas TV station, his face shadowed, voice disguised. He claimed he worked at a secret facility near Area 51 called S4, where the U.S. government was reverse engineering alien spacecraft recovered from Roswell and other crash sites. His words were calm, but heavy. There were 9 flying discs. I worked on one of them. It ran on a gravity propulsion system powered by element 115, something not found on Earth. He described a sleek, metallic craft that could bend space around itself, moving silently and changing direction instantly, defying all known physics. When the interviewer asked how he knew it wasn't man-made, Lazar answered quietly, "Because no human could have built this. It was like holding a piece of the universe in your hands."
The story spread like wildfire. Skeptics called him delusional. But when journalists investigated, they discovered something strange. Bob Lazar's academic and employment records had been erased. No trace of him at MIT, Caltech, or Los Alamos, despite people remembering him working there. Someone had gone to great lengths to make him vanish on paper. Over the next few years, people began reporting strange lights over the Nevada desert, moving in impossible zigzags, accelerating faster than any known jet. Locals called them the dancing stars. To Lazar, they were tests, experiments with alien propulsion technology. The military denied everything, saying Area 51 didn't even exist. But then, in 2013, the CIA finally admitted the base was real. Declassified maps confirmed its location, right where Lazar said it was all along. And in those documents, one phrase stood out: advanced propulsion testing, materials of unknown origin. More whistleblowers followed. One engineer, identified only as Mr. D, claimed to have worked on a project Galileo, studying craft recovered not just from Roswell, but from 2 other crash sites in South America and the Middle East. He said the technology wasn't built, it was grown. It's like the ship was alive. The walls were seamless, reacting to touch, and the controls responded to thought. He paused during his final interview, eyes filled with fear. They warned us not to ask where it came from, but we all knew it wasn't human. Within weeks of that interview, Mr. D was dead. A car accident. No witnesses. Then came the Pentagon leaks. In 2020, the U.S. Navy confirmed the existence of unidentified aerial phenomena, real footage captured by fighter pilots. The crafts moved just as Lazar had described decades earlier. No wings, no heat signature, instantaneous acceleration. One pilot said, "We saw it hover, then disappear like it folded space. Whatever it wasn't from here." By then, a growing number of scientists had begun re-examining element 115. In 2003, Russian researchers successfully synthesized a version of it, moscovium, though it was unstable, decaying in less than a second. But Lazar had described a stable isotope of the element, one that could power limitless energy. If he was lying, how did he know about an element that science wouldn't even discover for another 14 years?
The truth was starting to bleed through the cracks, and in 2021, leaked emails between contractors at Lockheed Martin and the U.S. Air Force referenced non-human technology integration programs, the very thing conspiracy theorists had claimed for decades. They weren't denying it anymore. They were just calling it something else. The story of Roswell had become something far bigger than a crash. It had become a blueprint, a gateway into hidden science, shadow governments, and possibly the beginning of contact. And yet, for every truth revealed, another door closed.
Every whistleblower vanished. Every photograph was classified. Maybe, just maybe, the reason they're hiding it isn't because we can't handle the truth, but because we're already part of it. It's the year 2023. For decades, the U.S. government denied everything: Roswell, Area 51, the alien crafts, even the sightings. But then the silence broke. In a packed congressional hearing room in Washington, D.C., a man named David Grush, a former U.S. intelligence officer, took the oath and spoke 12 words that shook the world. The U.S. government is in possession of non-human craft and bodies. The room went silent. Lawmakers leaned forward. Millions of people watching live could barely breathe. He continued, "We've recovered vehicles of non-human origin, some intact, some damaged. We've been studying them for decades under top-secret programs, and people have been killed to keep this secret." Grush wasn't a random conspiracy theorist. He was a decorated veteran with a perfect record. And when the Pentagon tried to discredit him, he brought documents, names, and locations, just enough to prove he wasn't lying, but not enough to get arrested. It was Roswell, Area 51, Element 115, Bob Lazar. Everything, all connected. Reporters started digging. Journalists found evidence of legacy programs hidden within private aerospace contracts, shielded from public oversight. Billions of dollars vanished into these black budgets with vague names like Project Aquarius, Majestic 12, and Stargate Initiative. And every time someone got close, their careers ended. Files disappeared. Sources went silent. Then came something even chilling. In December 2023, a leaked video appeared online, a high-resolution military satellite feed showing an object hovering over the Pacific Ocean. It wasn't glowing or saucer-shaped. It was a perfect black triangle, its edges pulsing faint light. Within seconds, it shot upward at an impossible speed, from sea level to orbit in less than 1 second. No sound, no heat. Just gone. When investigators geolocated the footage, they found the exact area it was filmed, near the same coordinates where Flight 19 disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle back in 1945. Coincidence? Or a connection? Soon after, new radar data emerged from Navy archives, showing similar unidentified craft appearing over Roswell, Area 51, and the Bermuda Triangle for over 70 years. It was as if something or someone had been watching us, quietly mapping the oceans and skies. And when scientists analyzed the electromagnetic pulses from those sightings, they found a repeating frequency, a mathematical sequence that didn't occur naturally, but matched a transmission recorded from the Roswell debris in 1947. That's when one scientist, under strict anonymity, said something terrifying. "It's not a crash site, it's a beacon." Government sources have since hinted that a slow disclosure is already underway, that NASA's new telescope data, Pentagon UAP reports, and global sightings are part of preparing humanity for a new reality. But the biggest mystery remains unsolved. If the Roswell craft was truly of non-human origin, where did it come from? And more importantly, why was it here? Late one night in 2024, another anonymous source sent an encrypted email to several major journalists. It contained just 2 attachments: The first, a satellite image showing a glowing circular structure deep beneath the Atlantic Ocean, directly under the Bermuda Triangle. The second, a single sentence. They never left. For over 75 years, the truth about Roswell has been twisted, denied, and buried. But if all the pieces fit, the crash, the cover-up, the technology, the sightings, then maybe the real question isn't, did we find them? Maybe the real question is, what if they found us first?
For over 75 years, the truth about Roswell has been twisted, denied, and buried. But if all the pieces fit, the crash, the cover-up, the technology, the sightings, then maybe the real question isn't, did we find them? Maybe the real question is, what if they found us first?